say this about I will say this though, discriminatory wise. If on a dating app a woman explicitly identifies as Christian or mentions the Lord, I am suspicious and I do immediately ask, what is her stance on fornication? And I feel like I gotta get that. Seriously, I've said that before. When I pick up that someone's made me sort of Bible Belt, chapter and verse Christian, I ask her, so what are you doing with fornication?
That makes sense. That makes very good sense, yes.
You gotta put that out there.
I'd be discriminatory in the sense of like if my sister, as an example, told me that she was dating a Muslim guy, I probably wouldn't be the happiest with it, and I would, depending on how devout he was. Right, so if he was just kind of like a guy that went to the mosque once every 2 weeks and, believed in Allah, but didn't really know very much about the Quran, and just self-identified as a Muslim, that'd be one thing. But yeah, whatever. I don't care. I still think it's silly, but I don't care. But if he actually believed in the tenets of Islam and
Alistair's here!
concern of him influencing my sister or something like that, then yeah, I'd be very unhappy with the fact that she was with Muslim.
I think that makes good sense. But I completely agree with that. That's very balanced. But if that's the saying, I'm automatically because he's a Muslim.
I don't automatically hate, but I think I would be, I want to ask some questions, right? I want to understand their ideology. Yeah.
What would you do if your sister said, we had the strangest conversation. I've been on, this is my third date with this Muslim guy. He's a parent. And he said, I don't know what's wrong. I feel like a failure as a parent. Why? And he said, well, my kid is 3 years old and he doesn't hate Jews yet. And I just don't know what I'm doing wrong.
Sorry, say it one more time. He said,
she said, I want to tell you about this guy I'm dating, and we've been on a third date, he's a Muslim, and we had this weird conversation. He said, I think I'm a failure as a parent. And I said, why? He said, well, old and they don't hate Jews yet. What would you say?
I mean, I think he's a psychopath, right? It's a bizarre thing to impose some kind of hateful ideology on a child.
That was a legit. That's a bad thing.
Yeah, I say.
See, the problem with Alan's position,
Don't you think that when it comes to religion and it comes to politics, heuristics are dangerous?
all language is dangerous.
We have to generalize to make sense of anything, right? Because otherwise we couldn't categorize things, and we'd have to take everything as a discrete particular. But yeah, we have to check our priors, right? I mean, I think there are exceptions and standouts and peculiarities all over the place, right? So nobody fits the generalization in general, right? Nobody perfectly fits any stereotype, and some people are characteristically different than that stereotype, right?
Alan, if I may interrupt you, your problem is you don't make any moral pronouncements or judgments. And you say, oh, you shouldn't just vote for a Democrat because he's a Democrat. I mean, where is your moral judgment, Alan? Do you believe in the separation of economics and state? Should the state be the sole source generator of all economic activity in the way that it is now?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. So, yeah, the way it is. Are we going to have a serious conversation, or is this just fun?
Not with this guy. This guy's
this isn't a serious conversation. If you know me, you know I'm a firm believer in capitalism. I think socialism is a too broadly used category. I think that there are parts of socialism that are part of our culture that we shouldn't reject, and I think we, as from a political standpoint, need to separate what responsibility society has to individuals from what responsibility individuals have from each other. And I think specifically with respect to Republicans, they used to believe in personal responsibility. I'm not going to vote for a single Republican who doesn't prove that they think for themselves. Heuristics are dangerous. Was that responsive?
I will say one thing I do find uniquely upsetting about Jews in comparison to other religions, though, is I am wholly against the modification of children's bodies absent their consent, especially like functional parts of their bodies. and Islam, Christianity, you say all these other ones they don't do that.
Yes, Islam has the same procedures.
With circumcision.
Yep.
I wasn't aware of that. Well, then I would levy the same criticism at Islam then, but I do find that to be an abhorrent practice.
You're
Doesn't
talking about
Islam
ancient-
even do that to females as well? Don't they do to?
Yeah, and it's not prescribed per se, but there are certain places in East and West Africa where it is practiced, although it's a very minority position per se.
I'm a firm believer that if someone wants to have that done to their child, they should have to be the legal age of consent, right? You should be 18 years old, and if you want to go and get the procedure done, you can do it, but it should absolutely be illegal to be done to children, in my opinion.
So you think that the state should be superior to the parents in terms of deciding for their children?
Right. We would need to
Absolutely.
modify the First Amendment.
Absolutely. I think that we do that all the time with abuse and so forth in terms of the state having the ability to take children away from abusive environments. I would categorize unnecessary body modification on a child as something that I would consider to be abuse. Yes, I think the state should regulate something like that, absolutely.
So
That would be struck
circumcision,
down immediately by the Supreme Court.
circumcision, which is in the Bible, which is much older than our nation. You're going to say that circumcision is child abuse.
Yes.
It's an unnecessary procedure. That's what Roland's saying. And so I'm agreeing with Roland. I think it would be a good thing to do where the state would get involved to stop these unnecessary medical procedures because they don't need to be done. I'm being redundant by saying that twice. So yeah,
There are health benefits.
that's been shot down.
No, it has not.
Yes, it has.
Please put the link in the chat.
Okay, I'm enjoying some chill out time watching silly videos on YouTube and drinking a cup of coffee. I'm not gonna.
Okay.
I can research it all, but it has been discussed that it's not necessary for the health benefits and cleanliness benefits. Yes.
Yeah, it's absolutely. There's
The foreskin can trap bacteria.
If you do not clean it, you have a higher potential of.
Well, that's hygiene is precedent, right?
But there's,
If you don't like, if you don't,
I do,
hey Yakov, Yakov, if you don't
James,
clean your, if you don't
James,
clean
if
your
I
ass.
can just add this in really quick, because this is something that's not even up for debate, right? There's like a wealth of information you can find on this. You can look at the stats. The benefit you derive from being circumcised in terms of cleanliness, reduction of UTIs, reduction of STIs, AIDS, yada yada yada. It's such a marginally small percentage as to be negligible, right? It's not in any way which can be taken into account due to the very, very small percentage benefit that it gives, right? While we're simultaneously removing something that has a very specific function, and then not having that piece of your body also limits your potential pleasure from interaction, and also can result in scarring of the glands of the penis and dysfunction in general, as well as scarring that can make it hard to have an erection because the scarring can cause all kinds of tension and issues with that. I mean, so again, I have no problem with people getting circumcisions. I think people should be able to modify their body as much as they want to any extent that they want. As long as they're in the right state of mind, that we can each other competent make decisions. But children, I think, should absolutely not have that done. My parents did that to me when I was a child. Before I had the ability to consent, it's something that I'm very upset about that they did. I think that it was a gross overstep of their decision making for me that I would not have done had I had that decision. And I think that children should also have the ability to make that decision later, rather than have that taken away from them. So, I mean, I just think that bodily autonomy is something that should be respected.
I was gonna say, on the dating apps,
And hang on, I got cut off because.
lots of women on the dating apps say circumcised only. I've never seen a woman. Never seen a woman that says uncut only ever.
Yeah, who cares? Who cares, Scotty? That's funny. So
I'm
Yakov.
just saying.
Okay,
that's a thing.
I got it. So Yakov, you brought up cleanliness, right? If you don't have good hygiene, if you don't clean your ass, you're gonna develop a rash and sore in your
Yeah, no, I understand that kind of argument. I understand that. Right now we have freedom of religion. If that's a religious practice dating back thousands of years, the United States, given its current constitutional structure, you cannot ban it. Okay, you want to change the First Amendment? Sure, go right ahead.
Right. I think maybe an amending of the First Amendment should be a good
That's
thing.
silly to say that you can't ban it. If we had a religious practice that involved the removal of women's clitorises, right? Like
Yeah,
I doubt that the state would be like, we're going to keep allowing this because it's religious, or like a religious practice that said that all women have to get mastectomies as children, right? Like
Yeah, so let's talk about that.
They don't allow that. There's
Do
a
they
limit,
allow?
right?
Do U.S. doctors allow that procedure, removal
No,
of
you
clitoris?
cannot. No,
I know. That's what I'm
cannot
asking.
do that
I'm
to a
asking.
woman.
Yeah,
Absolutely not.
I understand that. I'm asking Yakov.
Mhm.
Look,
I don't know of any religion that says that needs to be done, and that happens on a regular basis.
I think
There are lots of religions like that, and especially like some various different African religions have that practice, right? So yes, there are religions that do mandate the removal of the clitoris.
Yeah, so if they lived here in the U.S. and they wanted to practice their religion, the U.S. would grant them their practice. Are you saying that?
I can't speak to that. I am not aware of a religion in the United States.
This
that
goes along with
does
the
that.
freedom of religion, the freedom of
Well,
practice.
beyond the legalities, the legality is not really what I'm concerned about. Like the law is stupid in a lot of aspects. I don't really care about like what the law mandates or doesn't mandate. Yaakov, do you think that it's morally acceptable to do something like that to a child? Like, do you think the child shouldn't have access to make that decision on their own when they come of age? And if so, why not?
Parents are guardians of their children till 18. If they follow a specific religion, and that is a custom of their religion, that does not cause, it's. I have no problem with it. I did it to my son. My parents did it to me. I understand why it was done. I know why it was done. My son is about to have a baby in August. He's arranging for a mohel to come. It's just something that we've done for thousands of years.
But that's not really a justification for why, though, right? Because like
no, why is it is a covenant that we have with God.
But I'm sure there's a line there, right? Like you wouldn't say that like someone from another religion that their covenant involved removing the clitorises of women. Would you say that like that's acceptable because that's what they believe? Or is there a line there somewhere?
Why did she kick? Why did she kick? Because we have anonymous.
Extrapolate, right? So I understand that you don't have a large scale knowledge of that. I'm telling you it occurs. I think we're just doing a hypothetical here, right? Would you agree that if there was someone that let's say had a religion that mandated that, would you be there?
I can't ban one thing and say give me mine. Like that's a morally ambiguous.
I understand. So you're saying you would make an allowance for that? You'd say it's acceptable to continue doing that because that's the religious practice, even if the children aren't.
This is.
That's legal. I ever heard a response to Yakov, like you're trying to coordinately put him in a position to have to answer, and he's thoroughly saying he's not a qualified expert, but on a personal basis he can respond, but you are trying to lead him into an outcome.
But Jason, you don't have to be a qualified expert to answer a hypothetical, right? Like I'm not.
To be honest, I just don't like hypotheticals. They're just.
In the nature
But
of
you don't think that like hypotheticals have the ability to like expose
sometimes discussing a hypothetical may not be
somebody's
actually
ideology?
adequate. No, you're
Except it
trying
isn't
to
the
run the
case.
conversation, Roland. Are you actually? You're rich, right? Your parents are attorneys. How much have you learned of their?
No,
You're
it's
rich,
not
right?
rich. It's not
No,
rich.
it's not?
No,
Are you
rich.
an attorney?
It's rich. It doesn't matter who it is. I just.
Anyways, Roland, are you an attorney?
What does
Did I
that do
just
with
law
you?
at all?
What
I'm
does
going to
that-
ask this.
I don't care who he is or what he is. I mean, it's
No,
an
but
interesting
it's
question, but it's.
It's Yakov.
It's a
the
good
framing
question
of the
because it follows along with the religious practice and the freedom of practicing religion in the states. It's hypothetical, and it's only an honest thing to answer the hypothetical. I'm with answering.
I answered it. I said that it would have to
You're
occur
asking
because
me
then
a question.
look. You have to. you can't have one thing for one group and one thing for a different group. That doesn't work. That would be struck down by the Supreme Court. So, you know,
it's not
equal protection. I know. I said it's not. What? To ban it, yes, we said that before you came into the room. You'd have to amend the First Amendment.
But that's not freedom of speech.
No, it's not freedom. It's the religious freedom clause. It's not. It has nothing to do with speech or anything. It's the
freedom of religion and from
freedom of religion. You know,
practice of religion. Yeah.
Correct. That clause it would directly violate. You can't have one rule for one group and one rule for another group. So in this hypothetical, you by default have to say yes to any group that does anything is to protect, let's say, circumcision.
I would argue that unless they're insane, that was removing children's feet, right, and fitting them with prosthetics, and they didn't have human feet anymore, right? They couldn't walk normally, and they suffered as a result of it, or something like that. Or I mean, I can extend it as far as I want, right? I'm sure. Wait, one second, Scott. If I could just finish. Scott, if I could just finish my sentence really quickly.
You're gonna have to like.
I mean, I'm not the sentence though, right? All I'm saying is that there definitely is a line that
a political question. Sure, there's a line, and we decided culturally that circumcision falls on the safe side of it. Done. There you go.
No, I understand that, but what I'm saying is I'm questioning whether or not that line is in fact correct morally, right? Obviously, I'm not asking whether or not society is.
Look, we are not Belgium.
I'm not sure why that would be like in any way, guys. Every time I'm talking, you interrupt it. Relax. All I'm saying, like that as a criticism to what I brought up, Scott, is just really silly, right? I know that that's where the line currently is. I'm pushing back against it. Just then, like Pipe saying. Well, you know, Roland, the line is there and we've decided. It in no way addresses whether or not, you know, my criticism of the line is or is not consistent or you know, and I think it does.
Could I add something to what you're saying as far as the line is? When you go, because I just went and looked this up, the chance of medical complications from circumcision range from 0.2 to 0.4%. 0.2. 0.4%. So you're not talking about a medical procedure that inevitably has disastrous outcomes. In fact, it's very, very rare. So I think you're overblowing the implications of a circumcision.
I think
you're not seeing the outcomes and outcome, and that's something a physician does all the time, whether he's going to decide to do something. Risk benefit.
I heard his objection. His objection was more to you're making a decision for the child. The child should do it when they become of age at 18 and they can decide. That's what I heard. The thrust of his argument.
Pragmatically, you have a better moral chance of winning the argument to ban meeting in this country than you win circumcision. It's just a silly argument. I mean, it's not in the foreseeable future. Long foreseeable future, this is just not going to be anything.
But that's not what I'm saying, Scott. I'm not saying whether that would happen. I'm just saying I will with this, right? I'm not saying.
Wait, hold on a second. You're bringing your morality of your ideology, your thought process to the application of somebody else's, in which the freedom of speech does cover, but the application of a qualified person to do a circumcision, say like a rabbi, to do it to a male. He's not done it with ignorance, he's done it with practice, care, and guidance, which would provide that he is an expert in knowing what he does to facilitate a theological or religious practice that embodies their culture. It can be also applied to someone who does circumcision to females and women, which there are countries you did mention before would also be applied, and that's what we're referring. And now they're telling you that you're overblowing based on a hypothetical morality idea that you're trying to propound.
Overblowing what? I'm not sure the objection that you're raising. It sounds like all you're saying is that they do it in other places, and you're okay with that as long as they're qualified. What are you saying? I'm not like clarifying properly.
You're overblowing a hypothetical based on a theory inside yourself of morality of what is performed.
Overblowing
Not
hypothetical.
what
What's
everyone
that?
else.
What do you mean by overblowing a hypothetical? I'm not sure what you mean.
You proposed a hypothetical question to Yakov. You asked him a series of questions and made propounding remarks and asking him this is a hypothetical.
It's the mock trial
Yakov
room.
responded to you saying, hey, I'm not a doctor. I know they've done this. I know I'm not going to make it any different from anyone else in my culture and make a standard for what's in my culture but can't be accepted in another. So when you blow up, when you go into a hypothetical and then you frame it and say, well, my moral tells me I object to you. Who the fuck are you? Where the fuck is your morals? Why should your morals matter to us?
Well, again, Jason, I'm not saying that they necessarily should. I'm arguing for it, right? That's the point. So I don't know why you say, like, you don't care. All right, you don't have to care. I mean, we're having a conversation.
What's the name? Roland, we have a mechanism. If 2/3 of Congress, two-thirds, a supermajority of Congress agree, and 75% of the states agree, we can pass an amendment outlawing it.
But I'm not talking about legality or amendment or anything. I don't care about that, right? I'm just talking from the philosophical sense of whether or not it's moral to impose a medically non-necessary procedure that does have life-changing aspects on a child that hasn't consented to it. Right? That's what I was asking. I wasn't saying whether or not it'll. Yes, I wasn't saying whether or not it would ever pass. I wasn't saying whether or not we'd be able to get it through Congress. I don't necessarily care about any of that right now. I'm just saying philosophically.
So where I land on this, my final comment is where I land on this is the parents are the custodians of their child, and they make the best decisions they can on the welfare of their child. And if their religion, fine, go right ahead. I'm just saying, I made the best decision that I could for my son with the information that I had that was legal. Okay, and I performed it, with great love, affection, and the community was around us, and it was one of the best days of our lives.
I would say that circumcision in the United States isn't.
Hang on, I'm going to move it from circumcision to something else, right? So,
Well, I just wanted to, before we move into something else, I just wanted to
it's still about
comment on
circumcision.
this.
Yeah, go ahead.
The circumcision is not, strictly speaking, in the United States a religious practice, right? Jews do it religiously, but 80% of men in the United States are circumcised, right?
Right.
So the only way that you're going to end up banning, it's not like female circumcision where nobody does that shit, right? That's not an American practice at all. That's a foreign practice. And it's not analogous because
Well, it is when it comes to comparing it to religious practices. That's why.
It's not procedurally.
Well, that's the only reason it got brought up. So I like to.
The difference between the two is that female circumcision would be akin to cutting off your penis.
No, that's not true.
No, not at all. No, Adam.
The clitoris is in fact analogous to the penis.
No, Adam, if I could just add the thing because I do have some really good info on this.
So the way that you,
Adam, that is not true. If I could just say, because you made a gross error there, right? The clitoris, a lot of times when women have the clitoris quote unquote removed, they're removing the front aspect of it, right? The clitoris actually extends into the vagina. It's quite a long organ, or however you say it, like sensory organ that extends into the vagina, right? So it's not, exactly. It's not fully removed in most cases. It's just that the front part of it is removed, right? Which does limit sexual ability and so sexual pleasure. In much the same way that the foreskin that's removed during a circumcision, right, protects the glands of the penis, keeps it lubricated, increases sensitivity, in much the same way, right? So they're functional organs, they're functional aspects of the genitalia that actually do something and provide heightened pleasure.
That's right.
He's religious,
But it's not, because most of these men are Jewish.
no, I understand they're not Jewish, but it's something that we have a goal to.
It's not Christian, though. It's not a Christian practice.
I understand, but if you look at the history of how it was perpetuated in the U.S. and BC, right? It's not something that is necessarily religiously oriented anymore, right? But it's something that started as a result of that.
Yes, but it doesn't matter how it started. It matters what it is now. And for those, the only way that you get something like this to be banned is.
I'm not saying ban it. I'm not.
Let's change the situation because, like, even if it's not banning, right? It's for the men who are circumcised, the adult men who can make this argument. If a large share of them were to make this argument, and we don't see them.
I understand, but again, I don't know why I keep hitting this. I'm not arguing for legality at all, right? I think, but everyone that keeps bringing up the issue, what I'm saying, talks
More on the left or more on the right or on this subject? Like,
Yeah, so we can go back there, so I'm kind of misguided here with the room, so yeah, you guys can definitely go back to that. I feel like I can
we'll create another room at a future date.
What I'm curious about,
Ask women what they think.
well, actually, I'm still curious.